So an MVNE or mobile virtual network enabler is a company that provides the technical and operational infrastructure needed for MVNOs, mobile virtual network operators, to launch and operate mobile services. Unlike mobile network operators, MVNEs do not own spectrum or radio network infrastructure, but instead offer a platform that includes core network services, billing, customer management, effectively all of the back office systems required to operate a mobile service. Essentially, MVNEs act as the backbone technology that enables MVNOs to focus on delivering value in other areas of a telecom service, such as branding, customer acquisition, and service differentiation. There's a lot of consolidation. There has been, particularly in the MVNE industry, over the last 10 years or so. But I guess traditionally MVNEs have provided basic network access and operational support to MVNOs. However, their role has quite significantly evolved due to advancements in technology and shifting market dynamics. So in particular, things like cloud native solutions, many MVNEs, including Mobilise, are now offering fully cloud-based platforms hosted in cloud service providers like AWS or Google Cloud. And really what that means is that deployments are much faster and much more scalable. So there's a much bigger push in the last 5 or 10 years for MVNEs into eSIM and IoT. So now you have quite a lot of MVNEs that are just IoT focused, for example. MVNEs really are no longer just about traditional consumer MVNOs. We might have seen in the past with brands like Tesco Mobile or giffgaff, who focus just on providing mobile services to end consumers. But now they're expanding more into things like IoT connectivity, private networks, and enterprise mobility solutions. Quite a big focus on enterprise solutions, in particular things like CPaaS solutions or direct-to-business mobile services, where I guess there is another big transformation for MVNOs more recently, and I think this is a trend that's started to come to the fore in the last 2 or 3 years or so, is a convergence with digital services. So we've heard a lot in other industries about super apps. An example might be a Revolut. The core product is financial services, whether it be foreign exchange, whether it be banking, whether it be trading, investing, but now they actually have a whole ecosystem of other products and services that sit around their core product offering. So things like hotel bookings or travel bookings or insurance or airport lounge access, all those types of things. So a whole ecosystem of value-added services that sit around their core product. And I think a role that is starting to shape up for MVNEs in the coming years will be about enabling that super app ecosystem. MVNEs might not necessarily have those consumer interfaces, but MVNOs and telcos as well, but MVNOs being a little bit more nimble, much more focused on service differentiation, will need their technology partners such as MVNEs to give them the rails, to give them the framework and the ecosystem to be able to implement these super app services. There's several key trends, I guess, which are kind of shaping up the MVNE landscape at the moment. There is a lot going on in telco in general, but there's a few things that probably stand out. eSIM and remote SIM provisioning, which Mobilise has obviously a big interest in with our Hero platform and our eSIM as a service offering. We've really invested in this technology trend of eSIM, and we feel like the industry in general, including MVNEs, will really start to adopt eSIM technology, which eliminates the need for a physical SIM card and really enables these digital first MVNO business models. Not just eSIM as a technology itself. eSIM really enables new business models, and those new business models will have implications on technology strategy for MVNEs going forward. Other API interfaces, for example, that will need to be exposed, other operating models towards these non-telco providers that are pushing into the telco industry because of eSIM and what it enables. So eSIM is the technology, and definitely that will be embraced more and more with MVNOs, MVNEs and telcos over the coming years. But also I think there's a secondary layer to that, which is what does eSIM enable in terms of business model to the market, and then what implications does that have on MVNEs and ensuring that their offering is suitable for the market. So another area, 5G standalone and private networks. Enterprises and IT providers will be looking to MVNEs for private 5G solutions, particularly in sectors like logistics, manufacturing, smart cities. There's actually a lot of interest and buzz in the market at the moment, how neutral hosts are looking at direct-to-consumer MVNO plays, such as offering a standalone private network to a sports club who can provide exceptional connectivity over 5G networks to its subscribers once they're in the stadium. I think there's a lot of use cases that are coming up around standalone networks and private networks. Those players that are interested in those types of go-to-market strategies are not necessarily interested in operating the entire telco network stack, and therefore will look towards partners such as MVNEs to help deliver that capability and manage it, allowing them to focus on the areas of the business where they can differentiate, such as customer management, customer relationships, the channel strategy, branding, marketing, those types of things. So another area, AI and automation and customer experience. I think this is a huge area we're really going to start hearing more about in 2025. We hear about it a lot in other industries, particularly big tech, but telecoms is starting to show some signs of really jumping on board the AI bandwagon, and not to be one of those folks that are just jumping on the AI bandwagon, but it's really these agentic AI chatbots that are really, I think, starting to capture some proper attention in the industry, effectively with the intention that you can automate effectively an entire customer service lifecycle with agentic AI and also back office operations. So in terms of a use case, you could think of it as an end user interacting with an agentic AI agent and being able to perform everything across their account that they could possibly want to do, everything from service provisioning, purchasing plans, resolution of issues with the AI models that are starting to become available now. Having all of those tasks effectively automated adds quite significant efficiency gains, but then also cost savings. So there's some interesting aspects around regulatory changes as well and shifts. There's a relatively big wave of consolidation happening in the telecoms industry as well. Most regulators have looked to as one method for ensuring competition going forward after those mergers is the MVNO industry of the MVNO business model. So fostering a very competitive environment for an MVNO to compete in a market after a merger has taken place. To use an example here in the UK, the Vodafone and Three UK merger, the Ofcom and the CMA have published various different remedy solutions in relation to MVNO, such as really competitive wholesale pricing for an MVNO that should win that remedy. Other things like ensuring, pricing remains competitive for the telco and the MVNO for X period of months, years. MVNEs have a role to play in enabling those remedies as mergers and an M&A activity continues across Europe and globally as well. MVNEs are really perfectly positioned to inject into those conversations and those remedies to enable potential beneficiaries of those remedies the capabilities that they need to compete on a large scale. Consumers are really now starting to expect very seamless digital first experiences, similar to those experiences that other digital brands will be offering those same consumers. So when you think of Netflix, when you think of Facebook, when you think of Amazon, a big focus from those digital platforms on user experience. And I think it's relatively fair to say that in most cases, the telco industry has been a little bit further behind big tech industry in terms of leading with digital first experiences. So I think MVNEs have a role to play in enabling their MVNOs, or telco providers, or brands with the tools that they need in order to be able to deliver those digital first experiences. And so specifically, some areas which have been underinvested in the MVNO industry are things like fully digital onboarding. So being able to purchase and provision an eSIM completely remotely and instantly from start to finish of the onboarding journey to the provision and activation of the service on the network. We're talking minute as opposed to the traditional model of having to receive a SIM card in the post or going down to a store. The user experience there is greatly enhanced, and MVNEs will have a role to play in delivering that experience. And I think the difference is really eSIM is a technology that enables, that user experience, but actually the skill set from an MVNE to understand how to deliver the end-to-end user experience from things like best practices design, user experience design at the mobile app layer, all of at the web layer. Those are a set of skills that are different to just providing the network capability. So also things like self-service and automation. Customers really are expecting to be able to manage their account 24/7, and the younger generation coming through prefer not to make a phone call or to be face-to-face with a human. They prefer to do all of their customer service interactions, via the web or via a chatbot or a chat interface. So very important to have highly engaging digital first experiences, so customers remain engaged and can achieve what they want to achieve from a customer support perspective. Hyper personalization is another element as well that's relevant for the MVNE industry, but also for telecoms industry in general. We really do see the trail being blazed by folks like Revolut, with really focusing on hyper personalization towards their customers, with personalized offers, real understanding of individual customer behavior, which really drives better engagement. And I think that's what users and consumers are looking for now. So there is a real initiative within the MVNE space to enable those tools for MVNOs and brands to ensure that they're delivering on that experience of hyper-personalization. And so from our perspective, Mobilise Hero, our platform is built to meet these types of expectations, providing fully digital cloud native experience with seamless API integration as well. So not only do we offer the ability to deliver the end-to-end digital experience, but we also can step back and offer our APIs to be consumed by a brand that might have an existing application or is looking to develop their own. So the traditional relationship between MNOs and MVNEs has been quite transactional. This is changing in several ways. The telco industry in particular the MNO is quite aware that agility is something that is going to be really front of mind in terms of business operations. So being able to move quickly and make changes quickly, do things like offer sub-brands that can be more nimble and target a specific segment of the market. So I see in certain regions, not in all regions, but in certain markets and certain regions, that MVNEs are becoming genuinely strategic enablers for MNOs, kind of providing them another toolbox in order to be able to deliver on certain strategic objectives that they might have in the market. Like I said, whether that be reaching a niche market with a different sub-brand or a different set of services, offering a digital first sub-brand, which is all completely digital end to end and therefore not cannibalizing retail estates, subscriber acquisition. So wholesale partnerships are an interesting one as well. As the B2B sector grows, MNOs are partnering with MVNEs to provide IoT, enterprise mobility, and private network solutions. In the long term, MVNEs becoming integrators of multi-network solutions, allowing businesses and MVNOs to leverage connectivity from multiple MNOs dynamically. The MVNE industry had a pretty good period maybe 10 years ago. For about 10 years, there was a really important role being played for the MVNEs in the telecoms industry. I feel like that slowed a little bit as the overall cycle of MVNOs transitioned through maturity, slowed down a little bit, and there was a bunch of consolidation and far less MVNO launches over a period of maybe 5 years or so. But that's really starting to come back around now, and I think the cycle is moving back around into a growth phase, and that growth phase won't be from traditional go-to-market strategies like consumer, but these other go-to-market strategies that involve fully digital first services, IoT, enterprise services, private networks. Overall, the telecoms industry is desperately trying to find new revenue streams, incremental revenue from existing customers. And the MVNE platform really provides a layer on top of core MNO assets that allow them to be nimble and to push into these new initiatives, without disrupting any of the technology stack within their existing network. So there's always challenges, and certainly I think the commoditization of services is a big problem for everyone in the telco industry. So the commoditization, we mean that traditional services, voice, SMS, and data are no longer being billed in units. It's a commodity, so you purchase an unlimited bucket of those services and you consume as much as you want, so it becomes commoditized. And I think the challenge in particular for MVNEs, as those margins become thinner, so do the margins available for the MVNEs to benefit from providing the technology underneath those services. So certainly a problem for everyone, but as I mentioned previously, I think this ecosystem around super apps is quite an important capability for MVNEs to offer to the market to enable their MVNOs and the MVNEs to create those incremental revenue opportunity. A good portion of the telco industry is fighting hard to maintain margins and fighting even harder to grow. That translates often to a squeeze on margins, and MVNE by nature is a middleman. So whenever there's a middleman, there's the opportunity to get squeezed as key partners and customers also get squeezed with their margins. So I've talked about it a little bit before, but IoT and enterprise connectivity, many MVNEs are still focused on consumer MVNOs, but private networks and IoT are rapidly growing markets. eSIM only MVNOs, so digital first MVNOs, I think there's a real play there, and it really does change the cost model of the telecoms business model. Much lower cost to acquire customers. eSIM enables different go-to-market strategies. AI is a big area of opportunity as well. So MVNEs sit on a trove of data, telecoms related data. And we're really, even though there's been a lot of discussion about how to use data in telecoms industry in the past, be it things like churn prediction and detailed analytics, what the AI models bring differently into that space is just the compute power and the reasoning models to be able to interpret that data in a meaningful way, and something that hasn't really been possible to do before. I believe that there is a big opportunity for agentic agents, AI agents, which seems like quite low-hanging fruit in terms of what MVNEs could offer and to the market based on the data set and the assets that they have. But also then other things like genuine churn prediction, optimized network usage, next best offer type initiatives. But I think overall, the one that's probably the most valuable, I think, for MVNEs in terms of opportunity going forward is embedded connectivity. So we've seen a wave of non-telco brands pushing into telco with embedded connectivity services. So we can think of, the likes of Western Union providing a service to their customers, which is an add-on to their financial services. Revolut is another example where they've got eSIM within their mobile application now. Nubank is another example. So there's this whole kind of wave of non-telco brands pushing into the telco space and adding ancillary services or value-added services, as we'd say in the telco space, to complement an existing core product set and creating that incremental revenue opportunity whilst also maintaining those customers for longer because the service is stickier. So for MVNEs, enabling that ecosystem and those brands that are interested in embedded connectivity genuinely do not want to have anything to do with running a telecoms network. So the importance of a player that can manage that capability and operate it, manage it operationally, is hugely valuable in that space. So I think that there is a big opportunity